Today we'll be showing you the process of installing a Trail Tech Voyager GPS unit on this 2018 KTM 500 EXC. The install is a pretty simple task for the most part. It just requires some time and a few basic tools to get the job done. Although this 500 EXC comes from the factory with a nice computer system, upgrading it to the GPS outfitted Voyager can definitely be a game changer for those serious trail riders. Let's see how it's done. For this install, we'll be using the Voyager protector that is sold separately. It comes with everything needed, including the hardware, the external antenna, which is required when using the protector itself, and 3 mounting brackets for different applications. The top one is used for Trail Tech dashboards or bar clamps. The second one is for Japanese model bikes, and the third is for KTM models and is what we'll be using. Begin by disconnecting the headlight and just set it aside. Then disconnect the stock computer wires with a small flat blade screwdriver. Once you've disconnected the wires, remove the bike's computer. Now that the computer is out of the way, remove the bracket that holds the wire and turn signal indicator. This bracket will be reused. You will need to run wires underneath the tank and you will need to get to the battery. So now is a good time to remove both the seat and tank. Taking the shrouds off the tank isn't necessary. Just remove the center tank bolt and the bolts connecting the shrouds to the radiator and remove as a whole. And don't forget to disconnect the fuel line and the fuel pump. We temporarily mounted the Voyager just to get a better fitment reference. This step is personal preference. Now that we have everything in place, let's start with the wheel sensor. Since this bike already has one, we'll need to remove it in order to install the Trail Tech wheel sensor needed for the Voyager. Clip the zip tie near the caliper and loosen the 8mm nut. Disconnect and then unscrew it. We want to keep it factory looking, so after we remove the stock wheel sensor, we're going to cut the tube that houses the front brake line and sensor wire. It's easy enough to do so with the new sharp blade and the cut isn't visible. As always, be extremely careful when doing this. If you don't want to cut into the tube, use zip ties to secure the wheel sensor wire along the front brake line. Once you've routed the sensor wire, add a few zip ties and secure it. Tighten the 8mm nut and connect. This 500 EXC also already had a magnet installed on the rotor, so installing the magnet Trail Tech provided isn't necessary. The magnet records how many revolutions a wheel makes, tracking the distance you've gone. Next, let's connect the power. Just use the same path along the frame as the other wires, then connect to the battery. Moving on, now you'll need to connect the ignition sensor. This reads the motor's electronic pulse, giving you the RPM readout, and it works as the bike's hour meter. To do this, run the wire along the right side of the frame and wrap the wire at least 6 times around the ignition coil. You can tie a knot or use electrical tape as we did, and then cut off the excess wire. Since we're using the Voyager protector, an external GPS antenna will need to be used to get the signal. We chose to drill into the rear fender as it's more durable, or you can use the provided 3M adhesive sticky mount. Once you place the antenna, route the wire to the front of the bike. Now is a good time to add a few zip ties along the way to secure the wires that you've just routed and to check your work. Reinstall the tank. The last sensor we need to install is the engine temperature sensor. To do this, start by draining the coolant. You'll need something to catch the fluid. Anything clean will do just fine. Loosen the water pump bleed valve and have your bucket ready. The fluid won't start to flow until you crack the radiator cap open. Once you've drained the coolant, remove the lower coolant hose to install the temperature sensor. Find the straightest part of the hose and mark off the section you'll need to cut with a marker. Cut the section of hose needed to install the temperature sensor and use the hose clamps to secure it in place. Reinstall the coolant hose and tighten the hose clamps. Then route the wire along the left side of the frame and add a zip tie to secure the wire, and refill the coolant. Be sure to reinstall the stock wire bracket. Now it's time to tidy up and plug in the wires to their corresponding connector. They only go in one way, which will cut out any of the confusion of what goes to what. Lastly, reinstall your headlight and you're all set. For more how-to videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.